Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over a very entertaining article titled, Hell Hath No Fury Like a Gal in Her 30s. And a big shout out to M for sending me this article. And guys, this article is just like what the title says. And the funny thing is, this article isn't written by a guy. What makes it funny is this article is written by a woman. And she is sharing her experiences with the gals that are in their 30s. And this is dealing with not only single gals without guys that obviously want to be hitched but they're not in their 30s, as well as the married ones. And she's going to go through here and give all these different examples of what experiences she's had and all that. And at the end of the day, guys, it's kind of like this made me think of the saying from Al Bundy. I can't remember this exactly word for word, but something to the effect of, don't try to understand women. Women understand women and they hate each other. And you're going to see here, this is dead on. So this will give you a good laugh. And by the way, guys, this article isn't recent. This article is from 2005. However, it goes to show you that the things I talk about is timeless. It doesn't make a difference what decade you're in. These things do apply. And a lot of things I talk about and so forth, human nature, all that, female nature, doesn't make a difference if this article is from yesterday or in 2005. It goes to show you things are the same back then. So I'm going to get into this. It says, starts off, it says, smile, and the world smiles with you. It's a mantra which has caused me a lot of hassle over the years. It's supposed to work. You smile at a person and the person smiles back and positive energy is exchanged. True, but for one rare breed who doesn't take kindly to such warmth, I've been accused of being fake, flirty, naive, and overly tactic by this illicit species. I attempted an experiment last week and I smiled at 20 women who fall into the category above. Not one smiled back at me. Were they afraid that I was some kind of freak? No. The truth is, they were jealous, threatened because I'm a woman and a younger one at that. Who are these miserable females? They are, of course, bitchy women in their, wait for it, 30s. Watch out. Lock your man up and say a prayer that they aren't residing in a neighborhood near you. So, she's obviously in her 20s. I'm going to assume good looking, happy, enjoying herself. And she's being friendly, but obviously she's found an arch enemy, the gals in their 30s, single and married. Now, one could say, well, why is this? Why are there so many unhappy gals in their 30s? Well, let's break this down here. Generally speaking, 30 is the age where your typical gal who once was in her prime in her teens and 20s, that's generally the prime for most women in terms of the looks department, that's when she starts going down the totem pole. Okay? Don't get me wrong, you could have damn good-looking gals in their 30s, without a shadow of a doubt, as long as they take care of themselves, as well as 40s and even 50s. But they got to work hard at it. But it still doesn't compare to how they were in their teens and 20s. Just not the same. And if people are honest, they know I'm right. It's not a popular thing to talk about, but I'm not running a popularity contest on this channel. I try to keep it real. And so a lot of them are pissed off at the younger gals because they had what they once had. Or a lot of them are angry because when they hit 30 years old, 30 is the most scary number in the world to a woman, because by then, in a lot of women's views, and I've observed this through my own experience, my own personal life, 30 scares the shit out of them, because if they seem to be not either have a ring on their finger or at least on their way to the altar, in a lot of girls' eyes, they are these giant losers, which is stupid because who cares? But that is the pressure that oftentimes other women, society, maybe their religion, their culture puts on them, that God forbid if you're not married by 30 years old, then you're a giant loser and you're doomed forever. At the end of the day, in my opinion, man or woman, if you don't be married, don't be married. End of story. And what you feel about yourself and think about yourself is what's important, not everybody else. But if there's anybody that definitely wants to, let's just say, appease society's standards, it's the gals. So they hate on those that are obviously younger and prettier and happier, or those that are actually married and happy. And it's funny, guys, I did a video on Friday about this podcaster, this woman who's in Australia, and did this whole article essentially shaming guys that aren't interested in women above the age of 35. And I'm sure many of you guys saw this was a popular video, and I tore it apart, And is it any wonder this is another example why so many guys are just like, nope, no thanks, because they know the attitude that's out there. And believe me, it's probably one of the worst. Okay. Had to clarify those things. She says here, the gals in their 30s who have not yet secured a man are the most venomous of the species. What I tell you. This phenomenon is explored in the smash hit Desperate Housewives. You can see this is obviously an older article, because that show came out in 2004. This phenomenon is explored in the smash hit Desperate Housewives. Lead character Terry Hatcher, who plays Susan Mayer, is infatuated with Mike Delfino. When bombshell Nicolette Sheridan, who plays feisty serial divorcee Eddie Britt, attempts to sway his affections, 30-something Hatcher becomes desperate. In one episode, Delfino's dog shows more affection towards Edie, so Susan retaliates by smothering herself in gravy. The dog licks her face to death, giving the impression to Delfino that the dog approves of her. That show was a huge hit back then, and it probably was a huge hit because so many women can relate to these types, whether they want to admit it or not. This kind of behavior is obviously juvenile, but it seems a common practice among this peer group and extends far beyond television. For fear of tearing all female 30-somethings with the same brush, there are many who are not B-words, who are not bitter and twisted, who are happy in their own skin and who aren't out to cause problems. But this is rare. It is extremely rare, but there are those, yes. My coffee's getting cold, and I need the coffee, so I'm being unprofessional, having my drink mid-video. Yeah, they're not all like that, but many are. A hell of a lot. And in a way, guys, it's actually almost celebrated and promoted amongst our culture. Well, the female culture. There are no self-help books to eradicate such bitchy tendencies. Why do this peer group conform to such behavior? My own experience in this generation is one of unsurprising trepidation. Bitchiness breeds bitchiness. But I have learned over the years to smile back at women of this kind, and most importantly, to say nothing. The soundest piece of advice I ever got was from my best friend's grandmother. Nobody likes to be ignored, she said. Yes, that's true. When you're a kid and somebody's picking on you, if you don't give them a reaction, they're going to stop because it's not going to be fun. On the other hand, if you're a kid and somebody's picking on you and you're always giving them a response and freaking out and losing your temper and all that, they're just like, hey, I'll keep doing this. This is fun entertainment. Same thing goes with what she's talking about there. And like I've said so many times, women hate rejection. They hate being ignored. So a lot of times when I do these stories about guys who they've been dumped by their girlfriend or their fiance and they move on and the gal starts realizing that they missed a great guy and they try to get back with the guy, he just ignores them. He blocks them on social media. He blocks their texts. It makes them crazy. It's worse than actually saying something. She says, married 30-somethings can be a strange bunch too. Have you ever noticed how often they glare at you if you attempt to start an innocent conversation with their man? A few years ago, a friend of mine dated a guy some years older than her. Sometime after they broke up, he and his fiancée were out clubbing. Coincidentally, she was in the same nightclub. The 30-something bride-to-be had considerable influence and had my friend removed from the premises on the grounds that she might steal her man. Oh my God. Now, obviously, your average guy is going to be more than happy. Let's just say he's married to or with a gal in her 30s, and a pretty 20-something girl's chit-chatting him up in the grocery store, or the line of CVS or whatever, Target. Your typical guy's going to chit-chat with her back and enjoy the attention, but usually it's not going to go anything beyond that. But a lot of women that are insecure, all of a sudden just the horns will come out of their head, and all of a sudden the steam comes out of their ear and the fangs grow out of their teeth, and they see a threat. They're being ridiculous. Also, let's be fair here, how a lot of guys will have a pretty girlfriend and just some dude might be friendly. It could be a guy 60 years old and he's jealous of him because of talking to his girl. My friend felt she posed no threat, yet was let off the premises like a criminal. Her only crime was that she was the female and younger than the insecure woman. Yep. So we got the single gals that are pissed off and insecure and venomous, and we got the married ones in the 30s that are this way. Because they got their guy finally, and they don't want to miss a chance to lose him. Now, this is 2005. Nowadays, as the divorce laws and the family laws have gotten worse towards men, they might be like, okay, take him. Now I can divorce him, and I can make out like a bandit. A common tactic amongst the desperados is to patronize and insult other women who may be in the way of their target male. On a recent night out, I was called inside in the toilets of a popular watering hole. The woman was 6 years my senior. She asked me to kindly stay away from her guy she fancied. Ironically, she said the exact same thing to the bloke in question. That is psycho. They're actually in the bathroom. Oh, please don't talk to my guy. I want to get him. And she actually said to the guy, don't talk to her. What does it say about her? For the guy, does that sound like some gal you want to be with? It's going to be that psycho? Funny enough, her suffragette was in vain, and she didn't score him. There's a surprise. She told me there are rumors going around about me and that I should watch myself. My only crime was that I was friendly and had no agenda. Now, I'm reading this on the basis that she's being genuine here, that this wasn't BS, but it goes to show you, it's obviously a friendly person, but because she's younger in her looks. Another incident in a Dublin pub left me close to tears. An acquaintance in her mid-30s said, "Where is the beautiful young girl gone? And why have you ruined your natural hair with such cheap peroxide?" I was dumbstruck as she proceeded to tell me how my boyfriend was no good for me and that he was ruining my life. The ironic thing was, a week later, I saw the same woman in a very low-cut top flaunting it and flirting uncontrollably around the lads, namely my boyfriend. Translation, she's this woman in her 30s who was threatened by this younger girl who's telling this story. She's a younger, prettier, decided to use a different tactic, trying to mind F her, but pretty much insulting her hair and say, where have your young looks gone, and your boyfriend is no good, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, a week later, she's there desperately trying to flirt with him and get his attention. Another tactic. So you got the outright venom coming from the jealous ones that are married or single. And then you have the subtle, tricky ways of trying to manipulate the situation. When it comes to the workplace, younger women rarely get a look in and find it hard to be taken seriously, especially if they are 30-somethings lurking around. I recall looking for some advice on a topic from a female journalist in her 30s. She laughed in my face, saying there was no way she was going to show me how to take her job. I had another incident with a female at work who said that if I didn't know everything about a subject, it was to be expected. I knew nothing when I was your age, she said viciously. Ouch. Fashion is another area where the B words really come out to play. In front of a whole room full of people, a colleague in her 30s admired my top. She asked me where I got it. When I told her that it was among many of the cheap clothes I bought in Thailand, she laughed out loud and shouted at the top of her voice, "Don't you think you've exhausted the Thailand wardrobe?" None of this surprises me. And I'm sure it doesn't surprise any of you. Again, back to the Al Bundy line. Don't try to understand women. Women understand women, and they hate each other. I turned puce, but laughed inwardly, thinking that I may have exhausted my clothing, but at least I'm not exhausted. But does the fact that I'm ranting in this article mean that I am being bitchy? After all, they do say the pen is mightier than the sword. So I suppose it raises the question, are all women, wait for it, bitches? Well, I'm sure with my audience here, I'm sure many of you could comment below, yes. In fact, if you want, just all you have to do right in the comment section is yes. Yes or no. Now, in my life experience here on this planet of almost 44 years, we're coming a few weeks now, big 44. No, not all. But all are quite capable. Just how all guys are quite capable of being a-holes. It doesn't mean we all are, and it doesn't mean that they're all that way. But believe me, they certainly are capable. But there are a lot out there, and definitely this article is interesting to show you that 30s, definitely something to that. And again, is any wonder that so many guys aren't interested in the gals in their 30s. Now, there's a lot of reasons there, but again, goes back to the video I did the other day about that podcaster who was having a meltdown because her male friend wasn't interested in her friend because he found out she was above the age of 35. She was 37, I think, like that, and she went through this whole song and dance and about age and all this other crap, and I just lay it out for many different reasons why guys are generally interested in younger women and blah blah blah, and I definitely covered about the things that are typical with the 30s, and you can just add this to this. And again, this article, it would have been one thing if it was written by a guy. Okay, fine, fair enough. But when it's another woman saying this, that says a hell of a lot. So, but anyhow, guys, thought this would be an entertaining one to cover. Again, this channel, many purposes of the channel, it's to help guys improve themselves and be better in their lives amongst all those things. But it's also entertainment as well, and to help you guys just be careful out there, know what to watch out for. And I'm sure none of this is a surprise to any of you guys, but I thought it'd be a good one to cover. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Definitely. In the comments section, share your experiences with the gals in their 30s. I'd like to hear your opinion on that. And guys, as always, if you come across a great article that you'd like me to share, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. If I don't get to it right away, give me time. This guy sent this to me weeks ago, and I'm now finally covering it because I get email all the time, guys, and I try my best to do as many as I can, but I can't always get to them. Sometimes you guys will send me the email you'll send me an email, and then 3 days later I'll get the same thing again, and 3 days later the same thing again. You don't need to bombard me. I will get to it if I can, if it definitely works. Because not every story, not every article works for my channel for different reasons, but I will certainly get to if it's a good one. And this also, guys, goes for any personal stories. You got any great personal stories you want to share? Something that you've experienced in your life and you've overcome? I don't care if it was 30 years ago. I don't care if you're 60 years old, this happened when you were 30 years old. Email it to me. Write it out really well. Good punctuation. Write it in a way that you could read it yourself if you were on camera doing so. The easier it is for me to read, the more likely I'm going to bump it to the top and do it. On the other hand, if everything's just jammed together and everything, I don't have time to break it down, all that. That's one of the biggest problems I have with some emails I get. Everything's all jammed together, and sometimes there's not even an end to any sentences, run-on sentences. I can't do that. But write out really well, and make sure it's definitely a good one. Great comeback stories, whatever, and I'll definitely cover it down the road. All right, I just had to get that out there because I get so many emails now. I got to make it so that I want your stories to be shared, but you got to make it easy for me to do so. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.